Today's guest is truly legendary. Not only is she a fierce advocate, she is one of my dearest friends, and I am so grateful that she is helping us to round out our Make a Difference series on the podcast. Her name is Johanna Kandel. She has been on the show before. It was 5 years ago when she joined us, but we are going to take a trip down memory lane today because we are celebrating the Alliance's 25th anniversary. She is the founder of the National Alliance for Eating Disorders, which is one of the leading organizations in this space. They run clinician-led support groups. They have their helpline. They help literally tens of thousands of people every single year get access to care that otherwise wouldn't. And I am so proud of her. I have been able to witness this journey of hers specifically over the last 20 years as we've been great friends, but she's been doing this work for a quarter century now. And so we're going to hear about her passion for this cause, the difference she's made. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's the founder of the Alliance. The list goes on, but I'm going to let her tell you her story today. Thank you so much for tuning in for this Make a Difference series, again, sponsored by Advent Health and Be a Mind Leader. I cannot wait for you to meet Johanna Kandel. Welcome to the She Believes She Could podcast. I'm your host, Allison Walsh. This show is dedicated to helping you show up, shine bright, and achieve abundant success. Each episode is packed with advice and actionable resources to elevate your mindset, confidence, business, and brand, all while focusing on your happiness, well-being, and success. I am so excited that you're here. I can't wait to get started, so let's get to work.
For the women who do it all, and then do a little more. We're here for you. At Advent Health for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
Well, Johanna, it is an honor to be sitting across from you. I'm so excited to spend some time with you today. But could you take a couple minutes and just introduce yourself to our audience and catch them up? Because it's been 5 years since you've been on the show.
No, there's no way it can be 5 years. So thank you so much for having me. And my name is Johanna. I am the founder and CEO of the National Alliance for Eating Disorders. And I think the thing that I love, one of the things I love so much about our friendship and relationship is I communicated with you through fax. For those of you who don't know what a fax machine is, you should Google it or AI it. But I founded what was then called the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness on October 15th, 2000. So we're coming right up to our 25th anniversary. And the Alliance was my love letter to the community. I wasn't given the opportunity for intervention of my eating disorder, for treatment, and for all intents and purposes, support. And I didn't get access to care in the manner in which I needed it. And so I was able to piecemeal through everything from community support to AA meetings, even though my experience was with an eating disorder and not substance. But I really wanted to be in a space where people spoke my language or a similar language, where I didn't feel so alone. Because, eating disorders, addiction, alcoholism, trauma, all of that makes you feel very isolated. And, shame really grows in isolation and silence. And so when I started healing, I was going to get my PhD in clinical psychology and become a clinician that worked with eating disorders. And I had this moment of what I really wanted to do more than anything was to give back and talk to that 7th grade me who felt like I didn't deserve to take up space or be seen. And so I deferred grad school. I took out a student loan and I moved back home to South Florida. And what began as a party of one with some mighty volunteers has now turned into what is known as the National Alliance for Eating Disorders. And we are, I have the gift of running one of the leading organizations in the field that literally save lives every single day.
Yeah, it does. I mean, just give a little snapshot on how many people call in here, because you've got the clinician-led support line.
Yeah.
You've got groups that are
Yeah.
available that are oftentimes people's lifeline, that without the groups, they might not have any other access to care. So just give the listeners a little snapshot into the impact that you're making.
So on average, we pick up 8,000 calls a year. And what you talked about is our helpline is really unique in the way that it's staffed by licensed and specialized providers, and these people care and they love and they listen and they support. We expect around 30,000 participants this year amongst our 21 free therapist-led support groups from all 50 states and 88 countries around the world. And we'll do about 290,000 searches on our free referral database, findedhelp.com. In addition to that, we are the resource for every single social media platform. And now I'm really thrilled to say we've actually made the leap into AI. So we're working with OpenAI, we're working with Claude and Gemini, you name it, because we're really trying to meet people where they are and help them connect to care and services so that they know that they're not alone.
Well, and I think that, the impact, it's not even, I know the impact that the Alliance is making is so substantial, and we're going to get into that even further. But for those that are listening, your story and my story are very similar in the fact that we had to piecemeal things.
Yeah.
And thankfully today, there's a lot of other resources that are available, and access to care is a thing, and parity helped, so
It
much.
definitely did.
So there's been these milestones along the way, and you've been at the forefront. Like, you've been the one that's been pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, pushing them open in so many ways and shapes and forms. But, the whole series around Make a Difference is really to inspire people to follow that calling. And you did, right? Like, you knew deep down that you wanted to do something about it. And it was going to be a non-traditional path, really, at that point, right? You're going to do something that really wasn't being done. So for those that are listening, talk about that. I mean, because you had to be scared. I'm sure I've heard this story a bunch of times. Your parents are like, you're doing what?
It's so funny. I think I'm in this period of reflection right now because, as we're getting ready for this milestone moment. And, I said to my husband this past weekend, I said, you know what, I'm really glad that I was the stupid 21-year-old. And I don't mean that disparagingly, is that I had this feeling and this gut of, I just know it's going to work out. And, it definitely did not work out the way that I had envisioned because, in my plan that I had, within 6 months I would be here, within a year I would be here. It's 25 years later and I still don't think I've hit those milestones that I put out, but I've had so many other ones. It's known amongst my family that I'm very stubborn.
Beyond your family.
I very much. I've tried to sort of lean into the word tenacious, and
I like that.
And it's all about reframe, but also just believing that no is an answer. It doesn't have to be the final answer, and you have to find ways to make it work. When I started the Alliance at the age of 21, it was at a time where being young and making a difference was not the chic thing. You fast forward to now, we have such a beautiful and amazing way of uplifting, our youth stories, and thank God, because they are the ones that are pushing things forward. But I can't even tell you the amount of times where I would go into meetings and people would be like, "Where's your parent?" or "Where's your boss?" or "How many letters do you have after your name?" or "How many books have you written?" And it was this constant way of discouraging, I think, someone who had lived experience and wanting to pay it forward and make a difference. And I just didn't take that as an answer. The final answer, I was like, I'm just going to keep on pushing. And you talk about pushing doors down, you got to be nimble. I cut doors down. I just kept on doing
fire.
doing whatever you can, because listen, at the end of the day, I think the reason that fuels you so much and fuels me and so many others, everyone that works at the Alliance, is I was given a second chance to do something. And, for people that have experienced something like loss or an eating disorder or whatever it is, you have choices. One of them is to close the door and never look at it again, which is an amazing decision for you. I'm all about you making the choices for you. But for me, it was this fire that I was like, I have to do something. And I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. I didn't set out to be a business owner or a boss or any of that. And still, sometimes I struggle with tremendous imposter syndrome of wait, I have how many people that work for me? And but that's not what it's about. It's about the mom who's calling the helpline, or the young man who is like, how can I can't have an eating disorder. I'm male identifying. It's about those stories, which is we have to have this organization. So you do what you need to do in order to make it happen and work.
And I remember early days after you faxed me. I
did.
I was having this conversation. I mean, for those listening, Joanna and I have known each other and supported each other for almost 20 years, which is amazing and such a journey. But we both resonated with, you've been blessed with a voice to tell your story.
Yeah.
And to your point, when you live through hell and you're given a second chance at life, which we both were, then our outlet was sharing that story.
Absolutely.
And you've done that in a lot of different ways. You've written a book, right? You speak all of the time. You share so openly because it's like permission for other people to know that they're not alone, right? Like it's just, it's such an isolating illness. And, I've witnessed it in so many different ways. And those that are listening know that, and if they've been tuning into the show, they know Maddie's had quite a journey.
Yeah.
And I know she is still here because of you. And, when we had literally a parent's worst nightmare was what happened. And you're the first person I called, and you moved mountains to make it happen for her, to get the right care team in place. And even though I had been in the industry forever, right? Like, and this is still like why organizations like the Alliance are so critically important, is like, I had worked in this space for 20 years and I still couldn't get where I needed to go without your support. And like, I will forever be grateful for the work that you do. And I mean, you see her now and she is like incredible. and she's here.
She's incredible.
She's here.
And
she's
not only is she
voice.
here, but she's like using her voice. You said something to me on a phone call recently, and I'm not going to take away from amazing things that are happening to her. You talked about like healed people heal people.
Yeah.
And watching her in February, because we had the gift of having her speak at one of our events, and I'm so excited we're going to have her speak again, is this moment of, I do believe in recovery. I do believe in life beyond eating disorders, and I will, no matter where my journey takes me, I will always be an advocate for holding on to hope for people, and not in a prescriptive certain way, because healing looks different for a variety of people. But I do believe in hope, and I think that is what I missed so much in my struggle. That no matter what you're going through, like, we always have to have hope that it has to get better. And I think that just seeing her speak, right, like, and then going back to our first phone call, I think it was on Christmas Day or the day after Christmas that you called. And then even going back to when you were pregnant with her, and we had this conversation, I remember so vividly, of our biggest fears, right? As individuals that have had eating disorders, that our kids have it. And in that moment, and when I was pregnant with my daughter, I said the same thing back to you of like, this is my biggest fear. And you lived through it, and you gave her everything, and you were honest and open and supportive and knew where to look for resources. I think that that's what it is always, I think that's probably, as I look back on 25 years, is my biggest life lesson, is leaning into care and support from others. People want to help. They want to help. And if you're wired like me, that is not okay. You have to figure it out on your own. But connecting with people, support, it's going to make all the difference.
It does. You don't have to fight this alone. You can't.
No.
Like, and I think that's the thing that, I recognize so swiftly, is like, I needed support, right? She needed support, so much support, but because we moved swiftly, right? Like, we gave her the greatest possible chance, and she thankfully, it wrapped her arms around it. And, we are so grateful to be where we are now. But the longer you wait, the harder it is. And the more it takes hold of you, and it's terrifying. But, as somebody who always wanted to never be in the seat, I'm extremely grateful to have had your support and the amazing people that do this work. And I think that's the other thing too, what, the Alliance does, and connecting individuals with care. It is a very important step to take, because you can end up getting care from the wrong people that can do
Exactly.
more
Yep.
harm
Yep.
if they think they treat eating disorders, but they haven't been
Right.
trained to treat eating
Right.
disorders. And so, can you just share a little bit more about that for those that are listening?
Yeah, one of the things is that there's a lot of misconceptions about eating disorders, that they are disorders of choice or vanity. We know that eating disorders are biopsychosocial illnesses that are serious brain illnesses, that they're very genetic in nature. So of all the things that contribute to the development of eating disorders, about 50 to 70% is genetics. Then you talk about all the environmental factors, co-occurring mental illness, you talk about perfectionism, you talk about weight stigma and fat phobia, you talk about social media, right? No matter where you go, there's these messages. And then now in this world, do you add that with all of this conversations around GLP-1s, and I'm not here to say right or left about it, but that does add context to the conversation. And so it's this idea of like, can it be an abstinence-based recovery? You can't abstain from your quote unquote mechanism of choice. Like food is a basic need. And when you're so afraid of it, whether you're experiencing restricting anorexia nervosa, which is when you're limiting your food, or binge eating disorder, that's also a restrictive based eating disorder where you don't eat and then you binge. It's like we have to be aware that it's not going to be a black or white recovery. So that's why it's so important to work with providers that are skilled in the treatment of eating disorders. So they're not telling you these things that are not going to be helpful. And I also just want to hold space for the fact that you and I both know that upwards of 70% of people that struggle will never be able to access care for an illness that they never chose to have.
Right. And that's where the groups step in.
And that's where the groups step in.
And I think that, it can't be taken for granted or taken lightly. Thousands and thousands, you said upwards of 30,000 people will have been in the groups this year alone.
This year
right?
alone.
Like that, just take a moment to just
Yeah.
recognize that and the impact that you're making and the difference. And just for those listening, if you have somebody in your life that's struggling, there's groups for family and friends. There's groups, there's literally groups for everybody. But Johanna, like, this is incredible. And I know that it's hard, like because you're like me, you put your head down, you get the work done and you see a need and you go after it and you fill the gap and you move mountains and you work hard in silence and, you do all of these things, but it is your 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Millions of people's lives have been impacted. And I know you don't hold up the mirror for yourself very often. I'm going to hold up the mirror for you today. Like, you have changed this world.
Thank you.
Not just Palm Beach County, like the world, right? And literally, it's so exciting to be here and just to have this moment with you because you've worked really, really, really hard. And a lot of people are still on this planet, my kid included, because of you. And I hope that you just take a second soak that in because this exists because of you. This exists because that 21-year-old, bold, determined young woman said, I don't want anybody else to live through the hell that I just lived through. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make a difference and to make sure that no one ever feels like they have to walk alone. And here we are.
50% of mental health illnesses begin by age 14, yet only 1/3 of parents regularly discuss mental health with their children. Advent Health for Children and Heart of Florida United Way are teaming up to change this. We're helping people take pride in caring for their minds by empowering them to join our new movement and be a mind leader. We've created resources to encourage conversations around mental health and help shape the next generation of mind leaders. Learn more and join the movement at beamindleader.com.
I mean,
a quarter of a century.
Trust me, I've got the gray hair and the wrinkles to show for it.
Worth it.
Worth it. But it's really hard to sort of lean into that and to hear that. And, I actually just finished co-facilitating a group. All of our groups are therapist-led, but they let me and just a few of us that are not clinicians. I'm a 2-time grad school dropout. That is my claim to fame. Go to group. And, we talked today about what makes you so special. This idea that I've been saying for many, many years of this sort of idea of like, okay, everyone else can do it. Everyone else deserves it. But you're like you're the asterisk and the footnote in it. And it's like, I don't think I can actually formulate the right words to say thank you to our community, to our volunteers, to our staff, because I get to, I get to have my door open at the Alliance and listen to some of the phone calls. And I think about what it would have been like for me or my family to make that call, or for you and your family to have made that call. What a game changer it was. And I read our Slack messages from like just little snippets of conversations. And it's like, no matter what happens, this will be top 3 things that I am most grateful for and proud of in my life. And it's, to think about, I mean, it was a wing and a prayer when I started the Alliance. I took out a student loan. Please don't come after me, by the way, for saying that. And I had an office in my uncle's office. And I remember, like, I filed the paperwork on October 15th. I opened the doors in this little office on January 2nd, 2001. And I was like, I have an organization. Now what? This whole idea. And the places and experiences and people that I've had, the gift, working amongst, like, going to the White House, like, I fell asleep in American government, like, just being able to see light come back in someone's eyes, or to get a phone call 10 years later to be like, hey, remember me? I wanted to tell you that I'm in grad school, or I married the love of my life, or I have 3 children. And whatever your why is, or what your why has become, that feeling of like, what a gift to be able to do that. And I think what I love to tell people is go after it. Follow your heart. It's not going to be linear. And this is some of the hardest, most painful, most, I would say, soul crushing experiences of my life. And I would take every single moment of it to experience even a 10th of what I've been able to experience in this lifetime that I've been doing this work.
Yeah, and it's been amazing too to witness. And back to the facts, you have always been one to collaborate, right?
Yeah.
And you believe firmly, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? Like, it's so true. And you have created these communities, not just within the Alliance, but you've always collaborated with other organizations. For goodness sakes, you host World Eating Disorder Action Day at the UN, like bringing all of the organizations together. You are the go-to for all of the social platforms, and host also social media roundtables where you get all of them in the same room, which is, again, unbelievable. So you have this ability to bring people together for a common goal, where it can be really easy to be like, no, we're just going to do our own thing. You're like, no. We're going to do this together.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Well, I think, if we continue to go our own ways, we're never going to get anywhere. That's really, I think so much of who I am has been crafted, right, by the way that I grew up. My father was a Holocaust survivor. My mother came from extreme poverty. And it was like the 3 of us. It was like 3 of us against the world. I had a very strained relationship with my dad from all of his trauma. And, just my mom had a little ice cream cafe on Worth Avenue. And so I think from the age of like 6, I was working there. And I was always very taken aback by, like, when you work in collective, when you work in community, so much more happens. And so, like, I literally named it the Alliance because I was like, well, I would like for all of us to work together. And, that's sort of where I think, time and situations have definitely, I think, skewed, the way that I think about things, of like, not everyone in the world feels that way. And just because they don't feel that way, that doesn't mean that you don't keep on going. You just find other paths. And if a certain person or a certain organization doesn't want to work with you, that's fine. You put your head down and you get it done. Like, that's always been my motto of, like, we would love to do this in community. We would love to do this together. And if not, we're going to find other ways, and we're going to find other people, because we really are better together.
Yeah. So next question that I'm fascinated to hear, because 25 years is a big milestone, but there's a lot of years ahead.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to most as you enter into this next chapter?
I think a vacation. I think
Yes,
that would be ideal. It's funny. People have asked me, because I'm the only founder that's still here in the space. And you hear all these terminologies, right? Like founder syndrome, and I've done, and in full transparency, I've had to do a lot of work around it, because it's a thing,
Yeah, it
right?
is.
Like you birth this thing, you craft it, and then all of a sudden you have a ton of people saying, well, you shouldn't do it this way, or have you considered this way? And just because you're a human, you're like, but it's mine, right? Like I did this. And the only thing that that's going to do is going to keep you stunted, and it's going to hold you back from flying. And so, like, to quote you, like, you lean into people in their zones of genius, and you invite them to the table, and you listen. And I've done a lot of work around, like, what are my strengths? Where can I help? Where can I show up? And then you bring the best of the best to the table. Henceforth, you're a board chair, right? Like, I think, the question that comes up a lot is like, when do you think you're going to make your exit? Like, when are you done? And, it's definitely been a therapy topic a lot. I'm not.
Yeah.
And, I hope that one day, like, I will come to it before, but I'm not there. I have not come this far to only come this far. And to me, I want to get to a point where, our helpline goes from 5 days a week to 7 days a week, because eating disorders don't take weekends.
Right.
Like, we should be here to pick up the phone. In a world where like nonprofits are losing their funding right and left, and even we've had a really tough year, like, to really just go after the funding so that we can continue to not only survive but thrive, so that we have numerous support groups every day of the week, so that we're working even closer in partnership with the socials, with other mental health organizations, with AI companies, because again, you can have the best organization, you can have the best business, you can have the best product, but yet if people don't know about it, then it's not the best. So how do we work, like, smarter, not harder, to be in front of people? And then that if there's any question whatsoever, whether it's, your kiddo, whether it's your partner, whether it's yourself, whether it's your parent, whether it's your mailman, whoever it is, that if you have an inkling or like a feeling that something might be off, you know exactly where to go for help.
Yeah, there's still so much to do. So sorry, we're
Yep.
not taking your notice anytime soon.
No.
Sorry, but I think that's also you've watched the evolution, as have I.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in this space for a long time, and thankfully, stigma there's been a reduction
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And yet there's still so many people that don't know what to do
Yeah.
if they or a loved one are impacted. So yeah, we still have plenty
We have so
of work
much to do. And, to your point is, yes, stigma has definitely been reduced, but it's still there. Like, we see it in every facet, from people reaching out to even donors that don't want to even give, corporations that don't want to be aligned because, oh no, that's a stigmatized topic. It's taboo. Like, so I tell people all the time, like, take a risk, go out of the box, be the first. How awesome is that? Because at this point, like, I thoroughly have a feeling that it's almost like a game of chicken. Like, everyone's waiting to see who's going to go first. So if you're listening, I encourage you to come forward, no matter if it's for the Alliance or whether it is a business or an organization. Follow it, do it.
Yeah.
You will make changes that will change the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, I'm just so proud of you, and I'm excited for all of the things ahead. You are a fearless leader. You have literally looked fear in the face a million times and said, "Not today, not today, friend." So,
Yeah.
but so many people wouldn't have, and they would have just caved or said, it's just not meant for me. And you fought this fight,
Yeah.
and it has made a massive difference. And I really, really wanted to close out our Make a Difference series with you, especially since it just divine timing happened to fall in the week of your anniversary. There is no better person than to really highlight and celebrate and just say, you've made a massive difference in this world. And it was because you believed in yourself enough to start the business, to open the organization, to do the thing, even though you didn't have a roadmap, there was no blueprint, but you're here, and millions of people are better because of it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And, I think and this is like, I wrote a letter to our community that we're gonna put out next Wednesday, and I couldn't get through it because, I kept on crying. And I think what it all comes back to is the people, right? So this is where, I say thank you and for your beautiful words, but also thank you. I have this amazing memory of us in the back seat of a cab going to where we thought we were supposed to go. We ended up going to the wrong hotel and knocked on someone's door. And, I think that's what I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting all the gifts that this organization has given to me. And what I mean by that is it's the friendships, it's the laughter. I mean, it's turning around and looking at my child and being like, she will forever be my why moving forward, because like she wasn't supposed to be in the cards. And I think about all the people that have come across my path that I would have never met if it wasn't for my struggle, if it wasn't for my recovery, and for just like all the love and support throughout the years, because I would not be here without all of them, without all of you, without all of the people that show up day after day, the clinicians that pick up the phone. So, whether you attended a support group, whether, you've been a donor, whether you've attended an event, whether you've called the helpline, whether you've been on the board, whether you've been a dear friend, thank you. Thank you this is all of our celebrations. It's all of our milestones. And, all I can think of is buckle up.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
Challenge extended.
Yes.
Click. I'm super excited for all of the things that are coming ahead. But we'd like to wrap up every episode with a couple of questions.
Sure.
So what does confidence mean to you?
Confidence is facing the committee between your ears and saying, not today. Yeah. Feeling the fear and doing it anyways. That is confidence to me.
I love that. So, and of course, she believes she could is like my mantra over here. So there's had to have been times, though, that you've reflected back, and I think we probably talked about some of them today, but where you believed you could just enough to bet on yourself. What do you feel or think is one of those most significant moments?
I think probably to me in more recent times, that moment was March 13th, 2020, when we started getting phone calls from across the U.S. that our locations that hosted at that time our 23 support groups were closing. And I remember I was with my 3-year-old at the time, and we were running, playing, and I remember thinking in that moment, the world is shutting down for 2 weeks, allegedly. And everything in my gut told me that it was going to wreak havoc on our community, right? Like with this feeling of no control, of anxiety, of, not being able to access what you need. And so I remember going back in the house and talking to my in-house counsel, my husband, and then getting on the phone with several people saying, how do we make this happen? And 2 days later, on March 16th, we opened up our first virtual group. And everyone told me that it would never work. And that decision literally changed the course of the organization. And now we're able to welcome people from around the world to our support groups. And, I got to say, like, taking like a 30,000, foot, the Alliance is she believes she could. Because it literally should not have happened and it should not have worked. And I still am so in awe and shock that we're here.
Yeah. And it did.
Yeah.
And look, it's so good. So good. And still so much to do. So if people are listening, please give generously, because this organization exists as a result of generous donors. Yeah. It can be $5. It can be $50,000. We will tell you where to send the check. So, but the work that is happening here, it's true boots on the ground. And, you look at a lot of organizations out there, and I always look and say, who's really impacting the people at the core of the cause? And there is no greater representation or example than the Alliance. So you have so much to be proud of. And we will link everything in the show notes, but just high level, where should they go to find out more information?
Yeah. If you want to talk to someone who understands, you don't have to even need a referral. Just you want to talk to someone, call our therapist staff helpline at 866-662-1235. You can follow us on all socials at Alliance for ED, or you can visit us at allianceforeatingdisorders.com. And yeah, we're here. We're just a phone call, an email, a DM, a smoke signal, you name it.
Fax.
Yes. We actually still have a fax. So if you need that number too, like hit Allison up.
Oh my goodness. Well, endlessly grateful for you.
Endlessly grateful for you.
Oh my goodness. Congrats on 25 years and for making a massive difference. And I'm so grateful for all of the blood, sweat, tears, hard work, defying the odds.
Yeah.
And I just know there's just so many more people's lives that are going to be touched by yours. And that's pretty cool to sit here knowing that with confidence. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and maybe even that little push that you needed to keep moving towards your goals. Remember, you are capable, you are worthy, and you are meant for more. Whatever dreams are on your heart, keep showing up, keep believing, and keep taking action because the world needs what only you can bring. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you'd take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who needs to hear this message today. And if you want to keep the conversation going, please connect with me over on Instagram at Allison Walsh. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway. We've also got some awesome freebies that we've linked in the show notes, so make sure that you take advantage of them. Until next time, keep believing in yourself, keep shining bright, and never forget, I believe in you 1,000%, and my goal is that you do too. Take care, beautiful. We'll see you next time.